Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, sometimes you gotta go for broke and get a feature's worth of material out of 39 minutes. And guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean that you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more. In a light and in a conversational fashion. You know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. And if you are, please keep listening and subscribe. Hit the old subscribe button, gives you a 5-star rating in your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere, places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we'd absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Blue Sky, the Threads, probably a few other places that I'm forgetting, and in the seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest in the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it all that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that ultimate kindness. Come on by and pay us a visit. Well, we got more Emmy nominated madness coming at you right now in the form of the Righteous Gemstones as we talk to Paul Daley, who was Emmy nominated for Outstanding Cinematography for a series half hour. And it's for the episode Prelude. It goes back to the Civil War. And it's a wild episode. There's a lot going on. It's an impressive shoot for even HBO. It's an impressive shoot for a half hour or 40 minute, however long these shows are, sitcom, which is basically what this is. It's wild. They did a great job. There's like hundreds of feet of dolly track, multiple cameras, multiple setups, using moonlight, using every trick in the book to make something epic and kind of hilarious at the same time, because obviously it is the Righteous Gemstones. But like I said, he was nominated for his work on this particular episode, Outstanding Cinematography for a series half hour. It's episode 1 of season 4. It's called Prelude, if you haven't seen it. But first, enjoy our talk with cinematographer Paul Daley, just to get some insight on how he kind of pulled this off, because it's a little wild. So I hope you enjoy the talk, because I know I certainly did. Congrats on the work and the Emmy nomination. I mean, seriously. And I mean, I guess my first question is, for a show like Gemstones, like, there's a shitload going on in this episode. Like, I mean, I guess my first question is, like, walk me through getting pitched to sort of be involved with this and stage all this. Because I've got to imagine for you, it was not just a lot of work, but a lot of sort of having to make the budgets work to make everything look as well as it could.
Well, I'm just going to tell you that the UPM on the Righteous Gemstones, this guy David Brightbill, could not be cooler. So, for instance, I would say I need 420-foot lifts, which are very expensive. And he would say, all you got to do is explain to me why you need those lifts, so I can explain to HBO why you need those lifts. And this is how he ran the show. So as long as I had a reasonable explanation, I would get the equipment that was required. So I wasn't under a great deal of financial pressure for once, which is highly unusual in a show like that, in any show, really. There was, given the scale of it, nobody was confused about what it was going to take to pull that off. So I was given every resource, in fairness, full disclosure.
Now, I mean, you were on location. This wasn't soundstage or anything like that. You were in the rough. You were in the wild doing this, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we were deep in the woods. Well, the woods. We're deep in I believe it's a 900-acre private properties. And as you can see, there's no telegraph poles. There's no really sort of no sign of the 21st century at all. So we went very deep. And as I'm sure you can understand, everything that entails. Muddy fields, rutted fields, dirt roads. Everything's got to be trucked in. It was quite the undertaking. Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of little subtle things that go on in this, like sort of early on in the church, just the way the light reflects through the window and just sort of how you have to play with that. And even sort of in the encampment at night, sort of having to light a scene by, lantern or fire. I can imagine, I mean, whether you're doing that or not, I don't know, but I can imagine that leads to sort of some creative challenges for you to sort of make sure everyone looks good.
Well, that's you're absolutely right. So the fires and the lanterns motivate the light. The lights are coming from external sources, movie lights. The only time that it didn't was in the tents, where well, actually, it's not strictly true. When um, Elijah kills uh, Ned Rawlins, that's lit with candles. And the final scene, when Elijah finds God, that's lit with candles inside. Outside the tent is all movie lights. So the first setup, which I described, was actually on the campsite. The second setup was actually on a defunct Sears in South Carolina, where
Oh, wow.
we called it a soundstage, but it was an old Sears that closed down, and that's where we did it. Um, yeah, the campsite itself was lit with those 120-foot lifts that I referenced. Each one of those lifts had two 18Ks in them, and they were four cornered. So when you look east, the west lights were on, and when you look west, the east lights were on. Do you see what I mean? So you're always backlit.
Right, right.
I think I got that the right way around. So you're always backlit. And then so you have your campfires all over the place. Inside the tents are movie lights on flicker gags to look like they're being lit by candles. And then you'd hide your movie lights behind tents to illuminate your players. That's how we did it.
Love it. Love it. Now, I mean, I got to ask because, I mean, I'm a bit of an old Western fan. And in watching this, like, I felt a little Josie Wales. I felt a little Pale Rider. I felt sort of, the like sort of the dirt and the grit that sometimes comes through in these things. Like, did you shoot digitally or was this film? Or how
Yeah.
did you ultimately get sort of the aesthetic going for this one?
Well, I mean, the aesthetic is, I mean, the Outlaw Josie Wales. I mean, where are you going? It's one of the best sort of Western genre films shot, in my opinion, especially day exterior stuff. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. I think it was Bruce Sturgis shot it. Um, just a magnificent example of the period that we were trying to also replicate, sort of 1840s, 1850s. So I actually leaned heavily into the Outlaw Josie Wales. Also, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, which
Yeah, yeah.
different look, but holy mackerel! I mean, what an operation! I looked at the atmosphere they used in there, and so again replicated that. I leaned heavily into the those iconic Civil War photographs, Civil War era photographs, the silver nitrate stuff, the collodion emulsion they used. Used that for the tableaus that we replicated for the stills of the soldiers, and used those tones throughout. That was basically copied people. Do you know what I mean? That's what I did. I tried to make it look like that period. So slight desaturation, a bleach bypass look, a little bit of grain we put in there, really, really to just take you back a couple of centuries. That was the idea.
Love it. Love it. And I mean, this might be a dumb question, but it's something I'm always curious about, especially when you're kind of shooting in the rough like you guys did on this episode. I've got to imagine that everything's going to throw off a shadow. Not just the actors, but like the crew and the gear and everything. How do you sort of work around that, especially
Well,
as you've got the sun overhead and everything going on?
well, it's the company has to move frequently. You don't just plant and you're set. It's
Right, right.
you got to keep moving. You're behind the camera. Everything's got to get behind the camera. And we did a lot of very wide shots, 16 millimeter. We would do two establishing wide shots, often opposed, 16 millimeter. So you see the world just to demonstrate how big like the old West was. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? So that's what we would do. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's very astute of you. It's murder on the company. It's so difficult. You can't have trucks within really a quarter of a mile of where we
yeah.
are. Just can't. Um, and then even your shooting equipment, which is significant, like a 2 or 3 camera support is, I don't know, 12 carts. It's a lot of stuff. So to your point, yeah, that stuff's on the move all the time.
No, I mean, I got to ask because, like I said at the beginning, this is a very ambitious, like visually episode. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot going on. It's big, it's bold, but again, it's still TV. And I mean, TV still kind of works on a schedule. This isn't like you're working on a feature where you've got a bit more room to breathe. Like, how long did it take to get all this done?
I believe it was 9 days. I asked the
Wow.
AD because I couldn't remember. If it wasn't nine, it was 10, but I'm pretty sure it was 9 days in its entirety.
It is, I mean, that feels ambitious to me. Like, I'm just trying to give it scale to say compare to feature that maybe that you've worked on. Like, is it just a question of when you're doing something like this, is like it feels like you have to be meticulous but also run and gun at the same time, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, no, there's no run and gun. It's everything's planned to the nth degree. Uh, Remember, we didn't just walk in there blind. We director scouted
Right.
5 times, tech scouted 5 times, went back for particular positions just to make sure we were covered. Obviously, the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, so you make sure that your major situations are at least pointing south. You can never guarantee if you're shooting morning or afternoon, so at the very least, keep it south so people are somewhat backlit. But in the middle of summer, the sun's very high. You need a plan for dealing with that. Like when the sun's at its worst, get in a tent. When the sun's super high, get in the woods. When the sun becomes advantageous, get outside, get on a hilltop. It was very, very well planned. There was very little good fortune there, if that makes sense.
No, it does, but I mean, I've got to imagine, especially from your end, that's like this meticulous planning is probably sort of at the end of the day the creative payoff versus, shooting on a soundstage where you're going to be a little bit more controlled and everything it just is the way it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably shouldn't say this, but it wouldn't bother me if I never stepped on another soundstage again. I much prefer the uh, the natural environment. I enjoy those challenges. That's how you catch lightning in a bottle. When someone says, "Oh my God, that shot!" It's like the sun and the boom, and it's going down. It's like, yeah, the sun's going down. We had to move very quickly. There was no panic, but you've got 12 minutes before that thing's gone forever. And that's when you get those really beautiful shots. You'll never get that on a soundstage. You'll get an average, very, very good average, but that's all you'll ever get. And I'm not really interested in that.
Does the job change when you're transitioning from sort of TV to a feature? Because especially on TV, I've got to imagine there's got to be a certain degree of trust there, depending on the director or directors that you're working with, because that's not always going to be the same. It's not always going to be consistent, right?
No, we have 4 directors on the Righteous Gemstones. My good friend Mike Simmons uh, did David Gordon Green's 2 episodes, and I did the other 7 with the other three directors. So that's Jody Hill. He did the most.
Yeah.
Danny McBride did the next most, and Jonathan Watson did 2, I believe. Um, what's interesting about what you said is that The Righteous Gemstones is shot like a movie, but it's a TV show.
Right. Okay.
We shoot it like a movie.
Yeah.
We don't cross cover. We frame masters. We go single camera, and if there's an opportunity for 2 cameras, it goes in. But we'll shoot it like a movie. That's it. Danny McBride is very exacting on how he wants his television show to look. He's really the brains behind the aesthetic, if you know what I mean. He won't compromise, and it's great for me that he won't.
How does the I mean, I'm curious how to ask this because I mean, you've got a number of credits. You've worked on a few different things. I'm always curious to like if you're working as a if you're shooting a documentary per se,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like the job is inherently different than it would be if you're shooting on a TV show. How does sort of the nature of the job change depending on the project?
Well, that comes down to it's the creative, whoever that person is. You have to ascertain their expectations. What do you want it to look like? Tell me, give me some references. That's how that goes. Now, documentaries really in the last 10 years have come such a long way. Do you know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
not like they're really not reality television feature documentaries now, like the Maisel brothers stuff. It's gone Back to the Future. Like
Yeah,
the
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Salesman is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. I'm convinced that Quentin Tarantino just ripped that off. The Salesman. Don't you think? The Bible Salesman, and just make that Mr. Pink, Mr.
Yeah.
Red, Mr. Blue. I mean, look at it. So they were shooting, the Maisel brothers were shooting documentaries like major motion pictures, like Death of a Chinese Bookie,
Oh, oh my God, yeah.
right, which is doc sort of style, but it's a movie. I think the Maisel brothers did it better, but it wasn't a narrative. Does that sort of answer your question? You
No,
can,
it does because it speaks to sort of the evolution of the art form and just how we're not only how we're shooting things, but how we're consuming things. And I mean, this is something I always like to ask people. It's a bit of a loaded question, but whenever I get to talk to people who do jobs like yours, it always feels like, oh, I went to film school, I want to do this, and then I got my foot in the door, and then I start to go to film school again because it was a completely different experience, sort of being on set and learning. Like, what was your sort of entry into the business? Like, was shooting and being a camera operator and cinematographer sort of always your sort of impetus, your drive, or was there something else going on?
yeah, I was no, I came in through the electric department and was a gaffer and was very fortunate to work with some very, very good directors of photography, some of the best in the world. So that's how I learned my side of things. I didn't go to film school. Um, so when I started shooting, which took a really long time, I actually thought I was going to say, okay, everyone, I've stopped gaffing. Here I am. Come and get me. That didn't work out at all. Um, if this is a true story, if I knew what I didn't know, I would have been terrified and I probably wouldn't have made the jump. It's an entirely different discipline from camera operator, gaffer, um, any craft. Director of photography is completely different. It's quite the step.
Well, and it's one of those things where I've got to imagine it really takes a lot of trust. I mean, you work with someone like John Carpenter, and I've got to imagine there has to be sort of a faith and a rapport there, like before you even get on set almost.
Well, I think there's an assumption, right? It doesn't. The assumption is you know what you're doing. I think no
Yeah,
matter no matter what your craft, sound
fair
man,
enough. Yeah, yeah.
boom operator, anything. The assumption is you know what you're doing, and then my rule of thumb is when I was a camera operator, the director of photography would give me a shot. If I can make it 10% better, and then do that 10 times, look where you are.
Yeah.
Now you've actually bought something to the process. You just put it where he said and pan right. Well, all right, you did what you were told, but you didn't really bring a great deal to it, did you?
No, for
That's
sure.
that's I think that's the mark of sort of improvement when you can listen to what he said, give him what he wanted, but make it better. I think that's the goal.
No, I'm curious because I mean, just in talking to you and some of the references you've made, I can tell you've got some cinema history there and you're a fan. Was there, like, what was the first movie you saw as a young man where you noticed the photography of it? I guess it's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. That was the Ipcress file, um, an old English thriller. It was
Oh,
like
Michael Caine, yeah,
yeah, it's
absolutely.
an anti-hero film, and I watched it when I was probably, I don't know, 14 or something, and it was just so interesting how it was done. And obviously, I had no idea why it was interesting. I didn't know why I liked it, but I just kept revisiting that film, and ultimately used it as a reference for the camera operators for the Righteous Gemstones,
Yeah.
and it's brilliantly done. It's brilliantly done. That and the original Italian Job. Watch that film and see how it's done. It's like I swear, some of the shots, the cameraman showing you how clever he is.
No, it's gorgeous.
Like,
Yeah,
where
for
are the
sure.
lights? How are you doing this? The stuff in the prison is it's a masterpiece. It really is. So yeah, I mean, 1960s, 1970s British and American films. I'm just if they stopped shooting after 1979, it wouldn't have bothered me.
I'm with you on that one, man. I don't blame
Honestly,
you.
yeah.
But I mean, honestly, man, just you've done a feature's worth of work here on this episode in 39 minutes, and I mean, I think it was wild to watch. But I mean, again, just congrats on the work and congrats on the nomination. And thank you again for the time, man. I appreciate it.
That's great, Dave. Thanks for having me on. It's awesome. I really appreciate it.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.